All right, here we are. Let's get back into it. It's time to assess the military tech tree using our Empire map and playthrough, which I'm using for these guides. So we already covered the scientific and exploration and the economy and trade. We'll now get into the military part of the game. Now, first and foremost, one might expect that since we're talking about military stuff, that military ships will actually be available on the military tree. That is not the case because the great majority, if not all, of the ships present in the game, apart from behemoths, which I think are actually unlocked in the military tech tree. I can't actually remember. Let me just check real quick. Let's see this. Let's see, where do we unlock the behemoth hull? Here you go. No. Okay, so not even the behemoth hull is unlocked on the military quadrant. Ships are not unlocked on the military quadrant. They are unlocked on the Empire and Development quadrant. And for that, we'll do a separate video. But just at a glance, we have some key technologies in this side of the science tech tree, which are the efficient shielding that unlocks the first two small ships, as you can see indicated in these red circles with this little dart inside. Then on tier 3 we are going to unlock the Sheridan class and the Sopron class. Now these are medium-sized ships and are specific to the Empire, but all factions with these two technologies unlock medium-sized ships, and then all factions with this technology unlock the carriers. And on a side note, with this particular technology you unlock the behemoth ship hull. So ship hulls are unlocked on this quadrant. We will be focusing on, in this video, the military quadrant. And the military quadrant is composed of all the, or the great majority of the ship modules present in the game, and discusses command points and also some interesting military buildings that come with developing this particular tech tree part. So, with that said, another important definition is that weapons in this game are divided into two main categories. We have the energy-based weapons and the kinetic-based weapons. And energy and kinetic-based weapons also translate into particular modules that you must fit onto your ships in order to make them run these weapons. And based on being between energy or kinetic, certain strategic resources are required in order to produce those ships that have those modules equipped. And a further division between the kinetic and the energy weapons is that the energy weapons are divided between lasers and beams, while the kinetic weapons are divided between projectile and missile. So, with all that said, as a general premise, let's get into the tech tree. Stage 1, even before we talk about technologies that we get to unlock, we get a basic laser weapon module, which is energy based, has a damage per second of 13, a critical hit chance of 10%, and ranges that are optimal from medium distance. Now, what does that mean? This means that a ship with this particular module equipped will shoot at a 50% precision so average from short distance, at an optimal 100% precision from a medium range, and again at long range at an average precision. Why are ranges important? Because ranges are determined in your military status. You can see your battle tactics, and these cards represent where you want to, how you want to dispone your ships, or better yet, your flotillas during a battle. So each of these blue lines represent a flotilla. Flotillas are part of your fleet. A fleet is during battle and before battle. A fleet is divided into flotillas, into 3 main flotillas. And let's say, for example, using the turtle tactic, you are going to coordinate 2 flotillas at short range and 1 at medium range. Using power to shields, you will get 1 flotilla at medium range and 2 flotillas at long range. Using plasma distortion, you will get your flotillas all over the place, because you will get 1 at long range, 1 at medium range, and 1 at short range. So depending on the weapon modules that you have loaded onto your ship, you will have to choose a battle tactic according to that. And as you can see, there are a lot of battle tactics that get your fleets in a lot of different situations, and that have a lot of particular perks to them. So the Get Lucky battle card gets your ships in this particular formation, gets your flotillas in this particular formation, and gives you a plus 70% damage bonus on critical hit on weapon modules. And so on and so forth. So that is what ranges means. That is what we are talking about when we talk about ranges. So getting back, as soon as you hit stage 1 of your military tech quadrant, you get this basic opal laser, and you get this basic plasma beam that is a beam module. So as we said, energy weapons divided into beams and lasers. In this case, we get 11 damage per second, a critical hit chance of 5%, and of course the weapon type is energy. The difference between beam and laser is in the ranges, because beams in this case are effective, actually optimal from all ranges. They cover 100% from short, from medium, and from long. So less damage per second, less critical hit chance, best range. Then we get this other module. This is a basic high eye plating, health bonus 200, projectile defense 30. As I said, weapons divided between energy and kinetic, kinetic divided into projectile and missile. As soon as you hit stage 1 of your military tech tree, you get +1, what's that? Radar on Empire. That's not actually radar. That indicates command points. What are command points? Command points are the metric that the game uses to measure the size of your fleets. You cannot have a fleet of 100,000 ships. And discovering technology on the military tech tree and progressing on it will grant your empire a raise in the command points that you can use on your empire to compose your fleets. Let's just make a quick example. If we get here to my fleet, which should be somewhere around here, sieging the system, you see that my fleets have 34 command points in total, and this fleet has 30 command points out of 34 that can be used to fill this fleet. And just to further the example, this particular ship has, as you can see, 3 command points. You see the radar with the 3 right there. That means that this ship occupies 3 spaces, 3 command points inside my fleet. I cannot go above the 34 cap of command points for this particular fleet. Then we also get this basic plasma shielding, so health bonus of 15, shield capacity 550, so this also activates shields and gives an energy defense of 70. Now we get into the kinetic type of weapon modules. In this case we're talking about projectile, damage per second 25, so it beats by a lot both the laser module and the beam module in terms of damage per second. It also has damage versus missiles of 120 in the sense that incoming missiles may be destroyed by this particular weapon module, and a damage versus quadrants of 3. Firing simultaneously with its host kinetic weapon, flak targets, incoming projectiles, squadrons, and boarding pods. Difference between energy and kinetic is that kinetic has way more damage per second, but look at the ranges. From short, yep, 85, that's kind of good, but it's not 100%. From medium, it's average, it's 50%. And from long, it's definitely poor, only 10%. Basic ion torpedoes are weapon modules. In this time around, they are missiles. So damage per second of 28, the strongest. Weapon type, projectile. Protection, it grants protection of 60, and the ranges are from short, absolutely poor, from medium, they're kind of good, and from long, they're optimal. So a ship loaded with missiles, or better yet, a fleet composed of ships with weapon modules of basic ion torpedoes will be expendable in the most effective way to be expendable is to choose a battle tactic that gets your ships shooting from long range. So, for example, let's say, oops, wrong page. Let's say this one, power to shields, because 2 out of 3 flotillas will be on your last, on your long range. By the way, during battle you can further customize the disposition of your flotillas in the advanced battle settings. So, as soon as basically you start the game, you have these particular modules. Technologies, in terms of technologies, you unlock the N-wave fusion, which grants this military system improvement that gets you a plus 150 manpower capacity and a plus 100 manpower deployment limit. 2 things. That plus 150 manpower indicates a plus 150 system manpower capacity. Why is it system? Because it's the figure of a person with a little planet attached to him. And the second thing is, what is manpower? Manpower is this indicator right here, and let's read it together, is used to populate your ships and ground troops. Okay, so it's basically your army. Star systems dedicate a fraction of their growth, so that is to say part of the food that is produced on your system, to contribute to the empire-wide manpower, which is then dispatched as ship crew or system defense troops. So what this is saying is that given the amount of food that your empire is producing, a fraction of this food is translated into manpower, and manpower is used to populate your system troops that guard a determined system, and also to fill up your ships of soldiers, let's say. So if I were to get into one of my fleets and get this one, you would see that we have 413,000 health and a fleet manpower of 5,400 people on it. And this number, if I were to invade and siege and invade a system, would have to be put into correspondence with what the sieged system has in terms of manpower. And as you can see, this particular system has defense manpower, current defense manpower of 0 out of 2030. So if I were to invade this system with just this one fleet, I would have 5,400 against 2030. Now your troops may be further divided into 3 main types, which are infantry, armor, and air. And each one of these, when sieging a system, when attacking a system with the siege options, cost respectively 5 fleet manpower, 15 fleet manpower, and 16 fleet manpower. These work kind of like rock, paper, scissors in the sense that I think, but I'm not sure, maybe just look up the wiki, I think air is good against infantry, where infantry is good against armor and armor is good against air. It should be something like that, but please, by all means, look it up by yourself. I always played in terms of just having an inordinate amount of troops to invade, siege a system until I get it to 0% manpower and then invading it. That's just my playstyle. But this is a further breakdown of your manpower, and in particular, manpower divided between fleet manpower and system manpower, because both fleet manpower and system manpower are divided into these 3 categories, which, by the way, in terms of technologies, you start out with only infantry. At stage 2, you unlock armor, and at stage 4, you unlock air. So there's that. So what this building does is effectively raise your system manpower by 150 and give a plus 100 manpower deployment limit. So during defense, okay? So when someone is sieging a system of yours and invading it, in contrast of having just a limited amount of troops defending it, this particular building will grant a plus 100 troops to defend it. The other main unlock with this technology is a, let's call it, resource improvement, that is the chain gang program. What this does is convert one population into 300 manpower in general. A manpower counter that will be divided between system and fleet, depending on the case. It will cost 1 turn. It always costs 1 turn. It does not cost production, it costs food. This is a very particular, very unique action that you can queue up in your system queue, in your system building queue. So basically you will see one population get deleted from one of your planets in the system, and you will see 300 food gone, but at the same time you will have a plus 300 manpower. So let's say you were building a huge fleet, you needed to attack some cravers that are lurking in the stars just close to your systems, and you ran out of manpower because it is not infinite. As you can see, even though this is a huge number because I'm at turn 258 and I'm almost done with this game, you don't start out with these numbers. Manpower is a function of the food that you produce, so you might actually run out of manpower and nobody would be there to invade enemy systems or defend yours. So you might find yourself in the position to use the chain gang program, even though it's, at least for me, not that common, but nonetheless, very powerful tool actually, and that's it for the N-way fusion. The other technology that you unlock is the ubiquitous surveillance. What this unlocks is the big data shipyards. This gives a plus 40 initial XP on ships on fleets. What is XP? XP is reported in your fleets, and you can see right here, I think, it's actually in the single ship view. You see the experience. Experience is filled up, and a ship can gain levels. And in this case, my particular ship is at legendary. Again, I'm almost done with the game. I'm using these ships from a long time, so a lot of experience was gained, and subsequently I got to the legendary level. So this technology grants your ships, or better yet, this system improvement grants your ships some experience, 40 initial XP on ships. And you get also a module, O2G delivery gear, support module. You get an additional manpower of 50 on your ship, because it's a module that you will get on a ship, not just manpower in general, and a manpower deployment limit attacking someone of 25. So manpower is also used in battles, of course. A better term than used is employed, deployed better, because ships are loaded with manpower, and when you are intending to go and siege a system, you want to bring as much manpower as you can. So loading this particular module on a system grants your ships to carry 50 more manpower. So kind of neat. Plus, when you attack, you get 25 more manpower in attacking. So this was tier 1 of the military tree. Getting to tier 2, we get the unstable isotope machining, which gives us the electromagnetic shield, which the effects are on the system: a plus 250 system manpower capacity, a plus 100 manpower deployment limit in defense, a minus 20% probability to destroy improvements when sieged by an opponent, and a minus 20% probability to kill population when sieged by an opponent. On the other hand, we get a support module that enhances by 20% the energy damage that your energy weapon modules on the ship do. So a ship with energy modules on weapon energy modules will be enhanced by this particular support module. Focused plasma, we have a kinetic enhancer this time, projectile damage increased by 20%. Titanium A2S slugs is one of the key support modules of the game. It increases the loss of system manpower per turn when sieging. So, loading this particular module on your ship will basically increase the speed, the rate at which you tear down turn after turn the enemy system manpower. Very, very important module. Autonomous construction gives us a plus 100 manpower deployment limit on Empire, so that's kind of cool, and a plus 1 command point per hull types on Empire. So depending on the hull types that you have unlocked, you get a plus 1 command point. Most importantly, we unlock the armor type of manpower. So when I was talking to you about the different troops in the troop management, in the troop breakdown panel, you see that once we unlock autonomous construction, we can assign, by clicking on these plus and minus, a certain percentage of our total manpower to that dedicated type of manpower. Finally, we have high energy magnetics. This gives us tractable armaments. We get a plus 750 damage done to attacker during ground battle as a system improvement. This greatly increases the resistance of your systems when you are sieged. You get a plus 250 system manpower capacity and a plus 150 manpower deployment limit. So during defense, so further increasing what impervious bunkers did, and also no, we didn't actually encounter it. So it's a huge upgrade in regards to impervious bunkers, the tractable armaments. By the way, I forgot what you unlock at stage 2. We get better laser module types, 21 damage per second, 10% critical hit chance, and you see the ranges remain as they were in the previous tier. So it's an enhancement in regards to DPS, but yeah, we're still there. We're still at 10% critical hit chance and the same identical ranges. We have a new defense module, a health bonus of 30, shield capacity of 700, and energy defense to 120 in comparison to this first one. G War Camps, manpower enhancer effects. We get a plus 200 manpower capacity on Empire as soon as we hit stage 2 of the military tech tree. Upgraded coupled C5 AI plus further 2 command points on Empire. Basic reactive plating is another defense module. In this case, we're getting a health bonus of 310 and a projectile defense of 50. And right here, we have another projectile based module. This with a DPS of 39, so again, hugely, incredibly better than energy-based weapons, with a damage versus missiles of 180 and a damage versus quadrants of 5. Again, ranges are still kind of not that great with kinetic projectile based modules. So once that you reach stage 3 of the military tech tree, you unlock the following. With the hardened alloys technology, we are allowed a plus 100 manpower deployment limit on Empire and plus 3 command points on Empire. We get our first squadron modules, basic fighters. Fighters are very cool. You see them in the cinematic battles that the game has as little jets that fly around the battlefield, hitting the enemy ships and getting deployed from your ships. These guys have a health of 250 points. It's 1 unit and it has a dodge probability of 5%. Let's look at the damages. It does 25 damage per second. It uses projectile-based weapons. It has a critical attack probability of 5%. Against small ships, it has a modifier in damage per second of 40%. Against medium ships, it does only 25, and against large ships, 10%. So you can think of them as kind of, if you ever played EVE Online, as drones, but let's just say it's just an interesting attachment to ships that kind of harass the enemy in some kind of way. They fly out and they tail the enemy and just hit them. They hit them on kind of as they were like little drones flying around the enemy ships. And also we get the energy. I'm sorry, it's still a projectile based squadron module. In this case, it's a bomber, and it differs from the fighter in the sense that it has a little bit less health. You see, the fighter has 250 and the basic bomber has 200. One unit, 5% dodge probability, but look at the DPS modifiers. So damage per second, first of all, it's 50 against 25. Still uses projectile. Critical attack probability of 5%, so we're still there, but in terms of DPS modifier against small ships, we have 50%. Against medium ships, it's 100%, and against large ships, it's 150%. So bombers, in contrast to fighters have more health, but cannot really. It's just a different kind of perspective that you can have. You can focus on health or you can focus on damage. So choosing a bomber, you will have more DPS, but you will have less health. That is the main difference, the main thing to consider. Here we have a behemoth technology. This is it grants an enhanced behemoth hull, so giving plus 14,000 health on unspecialized behemoths, and it unlocks a large weapon slot and additional small slots for military behemoths. So behemoths are initially, when you unlock the hull on the Empire Development Tech Tree, are industrial, military, and scientific. So in this particular case, we get when it says unspecialized behemoths, he's referring to exactly those ones, and unlocks a large weapon slot and additional small slots for the military behemoth. And the other thing that it unlocks is a tractor beam. And what this does, there are some funny ways to use it, and I know for a fact that some players really enjoy this particular modules and always bring with them a behemoth or a specialized ship with this particular support modules. It prevents enemy to retreat. So once you engage in battle and you know you're going to win, it's impossible for them to escape, to retreat, and you will completely destroy them. It costs 2 adamantium. Deep Space Personnel System. Anti-personnel defense drones as a support modules, which gives an additional manpower of 150, and boarding pod manpower damage in terms of defense protection of minus 20%. So boarding pods are essentially using manpower during battles, during space battles, not sieging. And in case you were attacked by a boarding pod, you would get a protection. So the aggressor would do minus 20% damage with their boarding pods. But most importantly, you get the basic boarding pod. It has a manpower damage per second of 5, a duration of the boarding engagement of 10 seconds. You get a boarding pod health of 200. It's optimal at all ranges, and boarding pods reduce manpower of enemy ships every second. The enemy ship is captured if a boarding pod is active and the ship reaches 0 manpower. Manpower damage is impacted by relative infantry strength. Boarding pods will not target hero ships arcs, or behemoths. So arcs are specific to the Vodiani, behemoths are the special, large, big ships. Hero ships are the ships that are driven by the hero. And as I was saying, it's effectively soldiers that move in space and board enemy ships, and they effectively kill enemy manpower. If the enemy ship is captured, if a boarding pod is active and the ship reaches 0 manpower. So you can actually even get yourself as a prize an enemy ship. And how cool is that? Moving on, we have improved fleet management. We get an OPX gear. Now this is a specific Empire technology. I think it might be that also other races have it, other factions have it, but nonetheless, let's cover it. It gives us an additional manpower of 250 and a manpower deployment limit raised by 100 in attack. By the way, as soon as we hit stage 3, we get a basic phased beam of 19 damage per second. We get a no G camps, which increases by 500 the manpower capacity on our Empire. We increase with expert coupled C5 AI by 3 our command points on Empire. We get improved ship design, which means that starting experience level for all new ships built up as soon as we hit stage 3 is Rookie 2. And finally, we get a missile weapon module, weapon type projectile. Damage per second is 61. Protection as salvo health is 90. And again, best range at long range. Optimal range is the long range for the missiles. We have a deed, Raiser of Armies. You must be the first to have an Empire capacity of 3,000 manpower. So no surprise it was won by the Cravers, who make war their main business. But it's actually reachable given specific circumstances that you pursue during your game. Moving on, we get to the titanium electroplating. We are talking about, in particular, improved defense modules, and you'll see why. But first of all, we get new battle tactics, which can be scrolled in the military status in the battle tactics section by opening it. We get a cloaker support module. Fleet cloaking level of 2 and cannot be equipped on behemoths or I think that is a juggernaut or maybe an obliterator, but I'm most sure that it's a juggernaut. Now, what does cloaking mean? To cloak a ship means that your ship is invisible on a special on a system to the enemy, and you can activate it or deactivate it at your will, and this will prevent enemy ships from seeing you. And if they don't see you, you are free to stay in their space, and no enemy fleet can block a certain system on which your fleet is. So yeah, it's just covering up your fleet in order to not be detected. We have an adamantium salvager. So this particular module will grant 20 dust per destroyed command point. Can only be installed on support ships, but nonetheless, for each command point that you destroy, you will get 20 dust. And finally, an improved reactive plating. So this is a titanium-based defense module, which increases your health to 750, or better yet, it gives you a health bonus of 750 a projectile defense of 120, and a fleet XP per damage absorbed of 0.01. So it also increases the XP of the ship on which it is loaded on. Survival suits, new battle tactics, as you see, unlucky arms, grim recycling, repair and recover. We have a basic flotilla shield. So flotillas, as I said, are groups of your fleet that stay on a particular range, and it gives a flotilla shield capacity of 550. A flotilla energy defense of 30 can only be installed on support ships. I think that it's not actually support ships, it's coordinator ships, but we'll look better into it when we get to the Empire development. We also get an anti-cloaker. So while cloakers let you cloak, giving this particular module to a ship will let you see enemy cloaked up fleets. And finally, an improved uniform shielding against energy this time, health bonus of 60, shield capacity of 1200, energy defense of 390, and a critical hit damage inflicted reduced by half. So that's quite a bit. Finally, to the weapon modules. Now, really, I will never understand why the developers chose, I guess for balancing reasons, to make the player have to choose once and for all and to never come back what kind of weapon modules they want to choose, if they want to go with the energy or with the kinetic weapon modules, but that's just how it is. I mean, you can choose, as you can see by this line right here that divides the two technologies, you may choose between kinetic and missiles or beams and lasers. So between energy and projectile. And the projectile ones are fueled by titanium, while the energy ones are fueled by Hyperium. And we can see that the kinetic type of this particular kinetic type of module has a damage per second of 76, which is the highest damage per second that we have encountered thus far. We have a critical hit chance of 6%, damage versus missiles of 360, and a damage versus squadrons of 9. Best effective at short range. On the other hand, the missiles have a damage per second of 79, so it's even higher, critical hit chance of 5%, crew killed per hit 3, so this means that it also depletes the enemy ship's manpower. Salvo health of 90, best range at 100%. On the other hand, the energy weapons, we have the improved pinch beam, DPS 25, better critical hit chance than the projectile ones, crew killed per hit of 4, so better than the projectile, an opponent penalty given to their energy weapon accuracy of minus 20%, and this gets on for 10 seconds. All ranges are good for beams. On the other hand, the improved sync laser does a damage per second of 42, 16% critical hit chance, also an opponent penalty of 20% in accuracy by energy weapons for 10 seconds, best shot from medium range. So that was stage 3 of the tech tree. Now I'm afraid that I have to go a little bit faster because I will not manage to cover all technology at this pace in an hour. So moving on to stage 4, we have advanced fighters, which are an upgrade in regards to the first one, and an adamantium enhancer for projectile damage with a critical hit chance also of 10%. We have an antimatter intensifier, which increases the energy damage and also the critical hit chance. We are now using also antimatter. A behemoth module that, or better yet, a behemoth technology that grants the conversion of behemoths into juggernauts. Juggernauts are the most powerful ships in the game, and they are incredibly strong. Juggernaut specializations. Unlock the specialization option for all your existing behemoths. To specialize a behemoth, select it in the galaxy view and access the option from the ship list panel. How is that done? It's done as it follows. We have a behemoth, we click on it, we click on this particular button, and we get to choose between a juggernaut, if we have the technology, an obliterator, if we have the technology, and also a citadel. So they must be orbiting one of the player colonized star system in order to work. But as soon as we hit this particular technology, we can turn one of our behemoths into a juggernaut that greatly increases its firepower. And we also get the juggernaut plating for the juggernauts themselves, which gives a huge projectile defense of 300. Finally, one of the key technologies of stage 4, we can unlock the air manpower type right here. We are now able to give our Empire manpower also air units, and with this we get plus 200 manpower on the Empire, plus 3 command points, and plus 1 maximum tactics in your set on Empire. So you can choose plus 1 tactic pre-battle. Plus we get boarding pod advanced, which gives us 10 manpower DPS damage, 10 seconds duration of boarding engagement, optimal at all ranges, 250 boarding pod health. We have here deniable operations. We can unlock privateers, and fleets with only mercenaries units bought on the marketplace can display a neutral flag, preventing other empires, even allies, from knowing which empire is controlling them. Upkeep is more expensive, of course. So basically you can now have ships in fleets that no faction can recognize as your own. You may move them as if they were, let's say, pirates. So no one would actually tell that it is one of your fleets, and that is quite important if you are trying to move in enemy territory and not wanting them to understand that it's you. Quantum damped circuits gives a plus 100 initial XP on ships, so furthering even more the gained XP once you build a ship. Here we have more battle tactics, and we get to the blast effect battery. This is a weapon module. It has an area of effect. It has a collateral damage of 250. It increases also the chances to be targeted, the chances of the ship on which this module is loaded to be targeted, and it has these modifiers. It's optimal at all ranges because it is an area of effect module, so it does 250 damage to everything. We have this particular deed that is a breaker of planets. Be the first to destroy 4 planets with a core cracker. What is a core cracker? Core cracker is, let's see if I can find it. Where's the core cracker? I can't find it. I was sure it was It was somewhere around here, I think. Where is it? Here it is, the core cracker. What's a core cracker? A core cracker is a special module that can be loaded, I think, only on carriers. And basically what this does, it destroys completely a planet. So if you wish to destroy a planet, you must orbit around the system in which the planet is for at least 5 turns and shoot. And that planet will be gone. This particular adamantium electroplating gives us better projectile defense modules. It gives us a cloaked ambush. Cloaked flotillas will stay invisible and won't open fire until they reach their desired range. And plus we get more cards. By the way, we are still gaining, let's call them the strategic resource free weapon and defense modules. In this case, we get the Imperial slugs, we get basic inert plating for projectile defense, we get contained camps with a whopping plus 1000 manpower capacity on Empire, more command points, advanced ship design, which starting experience level for new ship is now set to veteran. We get basic transformative shielding for energy defense and a new basic Hell Array laser energy based weapon, optimal at, again, medium range. And here we have a new energy defense module of 600. Antimatter is required for this one. We have a enhanced anti-cloaking probe. What this does, it sets the detection probe invisibility level to 2 on the entire Empire. So it makes it harder for enemy ships to detect your cloaked ships. We have more battle tactics and a new anti-cloaker. So this time around, fleet anti-cloaking level is 2, anti-cloaking probes 2, and a probe cooldown of 1. Just as we had the Juggernaut blueprint, we now have the Obliterator blueprints with this particular technology. As I mentioned before, as soon as we unlock that technology, we may transform our basic behemoth into an obliterator. And what an obliterator basically does is, as the name suggests, not only destroy a single planet, it has the capacity to destroy an entire star system. It changes the nature of the stars themselves as soon as a shot gets to the target, and all systems and fleets around them, or planets and fleets that are in the system, get completely destroyed. Let me see if we can find some examples of this, even though I'm not sure if we may find some. Let's see. Yeah, no, I think this one, this one is the one from the Academy. Nope, don't seem to find it. But just imagine that all planets will have a huge white X on them, and unless you use a behemoth to restore with a certain module those planets, they're lost. Yeah, and also the star itself is changes nature. It goes, I think, from hot to cold, something like that, and yeah, basically you lose something like half of your population. No, that was not right. When an obliterator hits a system of yours, if that system is not protected by a system shield, which is unlocked by this Empire development technology, all population will be lost, all planets will be destroyed. With a system shield, 50% of the population is killed and 50% of the improvements are destroyed. With the Citadel, which is a further transformation of behemoths, these one provide a native defense against obliterator projectiles, and nothing will basically happen if an obliterator gets to a Citadel defended system. So going back to the obliterators, the last stage for technology is tensor algorithms or advanced game theory. Now we have the same distinction as when we encountered the titanium versus Hyperium weapon modules. In this case we have adamantium versus antimatter, and adamantium will fuel the projectile-based weapons, which are the kinetic and the missiles, and antimatter will fuel beams and lasers. And you see that the core cracker is available for both choices, so you will always be able to destroy planets as soon as you hit one of these two technologies. The missiles, the adamantium missiles, advanced positron torpedoes, have a damage per second of 96 and a optimal range at 100%. The advanced unstable slugs have a damage per second of 92, are most effective at short range, and do a 300 damage at missiles, and 8 versus squadrons, so kind of cool. We also unlocked a turret interference missile. This does 19 damage per second and enables the use of EMPs. EMP weapons disable the targeted subsystem for a limited time if the hit is successful. So it basically disables shields. On the other hand, the advanced game theory grants us an advanced positron beam. All ranges are optimal, 30 damage per second, 10% critical hit chance. Advanced halo ray laser, DPS of 51, almost 20% of critical hit chance, that's a lot. Weapon type energy, hull penetration plus 20%. Works best at medium range. So that was stage 4. How much time do we have left? 3 minutes. Let's see if we can do it. Well, actually, let's start from the most important distinction. You may now choose if you want to use orichalcics or quadrinics based weapon modules. And again, the distinction between projectile and energy, in which projectile grants extreme AGN slugs, 107 damage per second, 12% critical hit chance, 420 against missiles, 11 against squadrons, opponent penalty, weapon cooldown of plus 10% between shots, and a duration penalty effect of 10%. Works best at short range, as all kinetic do. Missiles. In terms of damage per second, the extreme entropy torpedoes are the most powerful of the game. They do 113 damage per second. They have a 5% critical hit chance, salvo health of 140, an opponent penalty to weapon cooldown, again, of plus 10% for 10 seconds. Getting at long range is what you want with missiles, independently of their damage per second. As always, missile range is best at long. On the other hand, the ultimate weapon based on energy is the Extreme Terraco laser, 59 DPS, 23, I'll say that one more time, it's 23% critical hit chance, and flotilla collateral damage received of 10%. So as soon as one of these bad boys hits one of the ships on the other side, it will have a 10% of that damage will be distributed to the entire flotilla. Works best at medium range. We also have the beams that work best at all ranges. 36 damage per second, 10% critical hit chance, crew killed per hit 10, flotilla collateral damage received of 10% also. Here we can distinguish the obliterator specialization in order to obtain to get obliterator missile velocity. So plus 50% obliterator projectile speed on fleets. What does that mean? Obliterator projectiles travel on the galaxy map and are visible from any distance. Let's say this one was an obliterator and I wanted to shoot to the IATS system. I could literally see the shot traveling turn after turn. It would take something like 2-3 turns to get to the system. The obliterator shot will destroy IATS's system shield and get the population to 36 divided by 2, and no planets nor the star would be destroyed because it has a system shield on it. But projectiles travel turn after turn to the target, and this particular technology affects plus 50% obliterator projectile speed. The other one that we can choose is the fact that we may have a minus 25% delay between firing obliterator missiles. What does that mean? It means that obliterator shots cost an enormity in terms of resources and in terms of strategic resources. I think you use all of them in very high order of numbers and magnitude, and turn after turn the cost in terms of resources goes down. So this technology, until it gets actually to zero, but it takes something like 40 turns to fire for free an obliterator shot. This technology basically reduces that delay between a shot after another by 25%. So I never actually tried it, but I would say that it means that it reduces the amount of resources needed to fire it. Then we have the other final ultimate defense modules. We have an extreme impenetrable plating, raising as a health bonus by 1550 the health bonus of the ship. Projectile defense, the maximum available of 250. And we get the cloaked strike. So fleet evasion, if cloaked, when engaging, 30%. So still gives us a chance to retreat. And we have the extreme graviton shielding for energy, this time 800 energy defense. We have an anti-cloaker 3. And we have an elite anti-cloaking probe, set detection probe invisibility detection level to 3, the maximum possible. By the way, here we continue to get our resourceless weapon modules, missiles. We get to start the experience level on elite. We get plus 4 command points, plus 2000 manpower on Empire, and basic anti-gluon beam, the final beam that does not require any strategic resources in the game. And the final technologies here grant us, with War as Hobby, a plus 20% troops health on Empire and plus 20% troops damage on Empire, and a unique improvement to put on one of our star systems that grants plus 1,500 system manpower capacity, a plus 350 manpower deployment in defense, and a plus 50% defending troops health. With quantum communications, we get the adaptive fleet systems. This is another unique improvement. It's a ship improvement, plus 100 initial XP on ships per system level. Yeah, you get this on a system, and the ships that you produce in that system will have a plus 100 initial XP based on the system level. C4 system, plus 300 manpower deployment limit, plus 4 command points, plus 1 maximum tactic in your set. Just as the obliterators, the juggernauts can be fully specialized according to giving them additional modules, or unlock the Iron Wave ability for juggernauts. It will instantly destroy all the fleets on the node. Only ships in the Juggernaut's fleet are immune. It will leave your Juggernaut unable to move for 3 turns and unable to attack if it is involved in a space battle. So a one-off, destroy everything, and then you must stay still for 3 turns. So you basically get to choose if you want more modules or this particular ability. Then we have the hyperfield generators. This gives us a hyper gear, additional manpower of 250, and a manpower deployment limit in attack raised by 100, and a quadrinix fleet shield. This enhances in ultimate terms our flotilla shield capacity by 1400, and a flotilla energy defense by 100. And the final military technology is the subatomic disruption. It gives us the advanced bomber with a health of 350, 5% dodge probability, damage per second of 65, still using the projectile based weapons. That was it for the military tech quadrant. We will see the empire development in another video, and that will conclude the science tech tree of Endless Space 2. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye bye.